What was the significance of the 10 Great Campaigns? The 10 Great Campaigns, known in Chinese as Shiquan Wugong, were a series of military campaigns launched by the Qing dynasty of China in the mid to late 18th century during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor. These campaigns included 3 to enlarge the area of Qing control in Inner Asia. 2 of these were against the Dzungars, while the third was the pacification of Xinjiang. The other 7 campaigns were more in the nature of police actions on already established frontiers. 2 were wars against the Gyalrong of Jinchuan, Sichuan. A third was against the Taiwanese aboriginals, and the remaining 4 were expeditions outside the Chinese border against Burmese, the Vietnamese, and the final 2 involving the Gurkhas in a conflict between Nepal and Tibet. Campaigns. 3 campaigns against the Dzungars and the pacification of Xinjiang. Of the 10 campaigns, the final destruction of the Dzungars, or Dzungars as they were also known, was the most significant. The 1755 pacification of Dzungaria and the later suppression of the revolt of the Outer Shah Khojars secured the western and northern boundaries of Xinjiang while eliminating any rivalry for control of the Dalai Lama in Tibet, and therefore eliminated any rival influence in Mongolia. First campaign. In 1752, Dawachi and the Khoit Oirat prince Amosana were in competition with each other for the title of Khan of the Dzungars. After being defeated by Dawachi numerous times, Amosana fled with his small army to the safety of the imperial court. The Qianlong Emperor pledged his support for Amosana as he was accepting of Qing authority. Among his support were the Khoja brothers Burhan al-Din and Khwaja-e-Jahan. In 1755, Qianlong sent the Manchu general Zhao Hui, aided by Amosana and the 2 brothers, on a campaign against the Dzungars. After several skirmishes, Dawachi was forced to surrender, and the Qianlong Emperor appointed Amosana as the Khan of Khoit. However, Amosana was not pleased with this appointment, as he craved to be the Khan of the Dzungars. Second campaign. During the summer of 1756, Amosana began a revolt by the Dzungars against the Qing dynasty with the assistance of Prince Qing. In the early months of 1757, the Qing once again sent General Zhu Hui with support from Burhan al-Din and Khwaja-e-Jahan. The Dzungars were defeated in 2 battles in 1758, the Battle of Oroi Chulutu and the Battle of Kurunghuai. In the first of these 2 battles, Zhou Hui attacked the camp of Amosana at night, continuing on until Qing reinforcements arrived, causing Amosana to flee. Another night attack on Mount Kurunghuai led to another defeat for Amosana, after Zhou Hui's forces made a surprise crossing of a river to attack his enemy's camp. To commemorate his 2 victories, the Qianlong Emperor commissioned the building of Puning Temple in Chengde, home of the world's tallest wooden sculpture of Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara. After his defeat in battle, Amosana fled to Russia, where he later died. Prince Qingunjab also fled, but was subsequently captured and brought back to Beijing before being executed. Third campaign. Revolt of the Outer Shah Khojars. After the conclusion of the second campaign against the Dzungars in 1758, 2 Outer Shah nobles, the Khoja brothers Burhan al-Din and Khwaja-e-Jahan, started a revolt against the ruling Qing dynasty. In addition to the reduced numbers of Dzungars, they were joined by Kyrgyz peoples and the Oasis Turkic peoples, or Uyghurs, in Outer Shah, the Tarim Basin. However, Uyghur Muslims from Turfan and Hami remained loyal to the Qing, even assisting the Qing dynasty in fighting the Altashari Uyghurs under the control of the Khoja brothers. The brothers led assaults on several towns in Altashar and retained control of strongholds in Yarkand and Kashgar. General Zhu Hui besieged Yarkand and was unsuccessful in a battle that took place outside the city. This battle became known as the Battle of Tongguluk. Zhu Hui took control of other towns in the east of Yarkand, but had to retreat from Dzungar and Uyghur rebels at the siege of Black River. In 1759, Zhu Hui asked for reinforcements, and an additional 600 soldiers were sent, as well as 200 cavalry. But on the way to meet up with Zhu Hui, they were attacked by an army of 5,000 rebels at the Battle of Kurman. The rebels then came under attack themselves from Qing artillery and archers. After a hard-fought battle, the Qing emerged victorious as they overran the remaining rebel towns. A number of battles took place as remaining rebel forces withdrew, and the Khoja brothers, fleeing with a small army of supporters to Badakhshan, today a province of Afghanistan. The Sultan of Badakhshan then promised to give them protection, but contacted the Qing with a promise they would be handed over. When the Qing arrived, the brothers and their supporters were duly handed over, and the Sultan submitted to the Qing. A few years later, Durrani, Afghanistan, and the Khanate of Bukhara invaded Badakhshan and killed Sultan Shah for his betrayal to the Khojas to the Qing, while there was no response to the slaying of the Sultan from the Qing. Suppression of the Jinchuan hill peoples. First campaign. The suppression of Jinchuan was the costliest and most difficult, in addition to being the most destructive of the 10 campaigns. Jinchuan, its literal meaning being golden stream, was located in western Sichuan to the northwest of today's city of Chengdu. The residents of Jinchuan were the Gyalrong tribes related to the Tibetans of Amdo. The first campaign, that lasted from 1747 until 1749, was a simple affair. With little use of force, the Qing induced the native chieftains to accept a peace plan and departed. Second campaign. Around 20 years later, the Qing army returned due to inter-ethnic conflict, which resulted in the Qing forces fighting a protracted war of attrition at a cost several times that of the earlier conquests against the Dzungars and Xinjiang. The tribes that resisted during the second campaign retreated to the stone towers and forts located deep inside the steep mountains, and were only dislodged by intense cannon fire. The Qing generals were ruthless in annihilating the Gyalrong Tibetans before reorganizing the region as a military prefecture, repopulated with more cooperative inhabitants. Campaigns in Burma. There were 4 invasions of Burma launched by the Qianlong Emperor between 1765 and 1769. These invasions cost the lives of 70,000 Qing soldiers and included 4 commanders. These incursions into Burma have been described as the most disastrous frontier war that the Qing dynasty had ever waged, one that assured Burmese independence and probably the independence of other states in Southeast Asia. The successful defense by the Burmese laid the foundation for the present-day boundary between Myanmar and China. First and second invasion. The Qianlong Emperor at first envisioned an easy war, sending in the Green Standard Army stationed across the border in Yunnan. The invasion came at a time when the majority of Burmese forces were engaged in a Burmese invasion of the Siamese Ayutthaya Kingdom. Despite this, the battle-hardened Burmese soldiers defeated the first 2 invasions at the border. The defeats for the Qing then escalated from a regional conflict into a major war. Third invasion. The third invasion took place from 1767 to 68 and was led by the elite Manchu bannermen and nearly succeeded after penetrating deep into central Burma. However, the Bannermen of northern China were unable to cope with the unfamiliar tropical terrain and lethal endemic diseases and were driven back with heavy losses. The King of Burma redeployed his forces from Siam to the Chinese border. The Qing Emperor Qianlong ordered Manchu General Elder Deng to be sliced to death after his commander Ming Rei was defeated at the Battle of Maymeo in the Sino-Burmese War of 1768 because Elder Deng was unable to flank Ming Rei when he did not arrive at a rendezvous on time. Fourth invasion. The fourth and subsequently largest invasion got bogged down at the border, with the Qing forces becoming completely surrounded. A truce was eventually agreed between the two sides in December 1769. Aftermath of the Burma campaign. The Qing maintained a heavy military presence in the border areas of Yunnan for the next decade in an attempt to further escalate another war, while a ban on cross-border trade continued for the next 2 decades. The Burmese, meanwhile, were stationed on their side of the border with increased garrisons to keep the Qing from entering their territory. 20 years after the end of the Burma campaign, the two sides resumed diplomatic relations in 1790. The main beneficiaries of the conflict were the Siamese. After losing their capital, Ayutthaya, to the Burmese in 1767, they were able to regroup with the absence of large numbers of Burmese forces due to their conflicts with the Qing. The Siamese reclaimed their lost territories by 1769. Taiwan Rebellion. In 1786, the Qing appointed governor of Taiwan, Sung Jing-sui, discovered and suppressed the anti-Qing Tian de Hui Heaven and Earth Society. The Tian de Hui members were Ming Dynasty loyalists, and their leader, Lin Shuangwen, proclaimed himself as their king. Many people in prosperous positions on the island took part in this revolt, and the movement quickly rose to 50,000 people. In less than a year, the rebels controlled all of southern Taiwan, and the Qing sent a poorly organized army to quell the rebels. After an initial defeat, another army was sent, this time better equipped, disciplined, and with combat experience, which proved to be enough to rout the insurgents. The leaders of the rebels hid amongst the local population to avoid capture, although Lin Shuangwen was amongst those captured and executed. 2 campaigns against the Gurkhas. First campaign. In the late 1760s, there was a strong centralized state in Nepal, and the Gurkha rulers of Nepal invaded southern Tibet in 1788, with the Manchus resident in Lhasa offering no resistance or defense of the territory. Indeed, the 2 Manchu resident agents took the child Panchen Lama to safety, while the Nepalese soldiers plundered the monastery at Shingatsa on their way to Lhasa. The Qianlong Emperor ordered soldiers based in Sichuan to Lhasa to restore order. By the time they reached southern Tibet, the Gurkhas had already withdrawn. This incident counted as the first of the 2 wars with the Gurkhas. Second campaign. In 1791, the Gurkhas returned to Tibet, this time in greater numbers. Qianlong dispatched an army of 10,000, 6,000 of which were elite Manchu and Mongol bannermen. They entered Tibet in the midst of winter 1791-2, crossing the high mountain passes in the cold and deep snow, arriving into central Tibet in the summer of 1792, achieving victory in a series of encounters over the next 2 or 3 months. A peace treaty was eventually signed that favoured the Qing government, with the Nepalese forced to pay tribute to the Qing dynasty every 5 years. Campaign in Viet. During the 17th century, Vietnam was divided into 2 parts, with the southern part known as Dang Trong or Cochin China and ruled by the Nguyen lords, while the northern part was known as Dang Ngoe or Tonkin, ruled by the Trin lords under the puppet Li emperors. In 1771, the Tay Son rebellion broke out in the south, while the local Nguyen lord being removed from power. Fu Xuan today Hue, was captured as rebels moved north and captured Dongqing, today Hanoi, with Le Chiu Tong replaced as emperor. Senior members of those ousted fled to the province of Guangxi in China to seek support from the Qing government, while the Qianlong Emperor invaded Vietnam in support of those ousted, but were themselves defeated. After a period of reconciliation, Qianlong recognized Nguyen Hue or Chiang Trung as a ruler of Vietnam. The reasons for the Qing imperial government to interfere in the domestic affairs of Vietnam has long been disputed, with some claiming the Qianlong Emperor simply wanted to restore the Le Emperor to the throne and end the instability, while others argue it was to create Vietnam as a vassal state, with Chinese soldiers stationed there, with Le Chiu Tong installed as a puppet ruler. Conclusion: in his latter years, the Qianlong Emperor referred to himself with a grandiose style name of Old Man of the 10 Completed Great Campaigns. He also wrote an essay enumerating the victories in 1792, known as the Record of 10 Completions. However, the campaigns were a major financial drain on the Qing dynasty, while the outcomes were modest. Although the tribes of Jinchuan were fewer than 30,000 households, they took more than 5 years to pacify. The Burma campaigns failed to seriously affect Burma, and the outcome of making peace in Vietnam led to arranged marriages between the imperial families of the neighbouring countries. That brings us to the end of this video, highlighting a historical era that has helped shape China today. If you've enjoyed watching and it's shown you a little detail of life and events here in China, then your subscribing to my channel would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click on the link to the next video, and until the next time, goodbye for now.